Hey guys, I'm Taylor.
And I'm Shannon.
And you're listening to Nefarious.
We are two 911 night shift dispatchers that decided to give our perspective on cases and events that happen before and after the emergency call. We cope with difficult situations, calls, and life with dark humor. We mean no disrespect. Our intentions are always to research and present information correctly and truthfully.
Warning. The audio you're about to hear is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Officer at 829 Stony Brook. Her friend just woke me up and swears that she found her severed head of her son in a basement.
Okay, can you repeat the address, sir?
829 Stony Brook.
Okay, S-T-O-N-E-Y?
Is it EY, right? Yes. No E. Just Y.
Is that a house, apartment, or duplex?
It's a house.
What's your phone number?
My number is 327-3748. My name's Steve.
327-3748?
Yes.
What's your last name, Steve?
Hendricks.
Okay, tell me what's happening there again.
I have no clue what's happening. My girl swears that she's found her severed head of her son in the basement.
Did you go down there?
In a bucket. I went down. I can't tell what the fuck. Part of my language. I'm kind of a little freaked out.
Okay, did she just wake up and say that?
Yeah.
And whose head is it?
She's claiming it's her son.
How old is her son?
24, 25.
Has he been missing, or?
No, he was here yesterday with some chick, and then all of a sudden nobody's here. And she came up to use the restroom a couple times, and she keeps calling and calling, and now she's saying that she hears the phone down there too.
Okay, is she with you right now?
Yes, she's upstairs. She's a little freaked out, and I don't know what to do.
Okay, alright, stay on the line. And, you said you went down there, correct?
Yeah, and I looked at the toll, but I can't see very well, and I can't tell what the hell it is.
So there's something in the bucket.
There's something in the goddamn bucket there.
Okay.
And she won't look again. I don't know what the hell, man.
Do you think she's hallucinating, or do you think that...
I don't think so. I went down and there's something in the damn bucket. I don't know, man. And she's a little freaked out and kind of freaking me out.
Can I just say for a second, like, as a dispatcher, this is not a call that you train for. This is not anything that you would expect. And so whenever that you get the question, like, there's a head in a bucket, not having heard this call before now, there's no protocol, at least at our agency.
You could almost tell, like, he was like, what?
Yeah.
So, I did put in here, this is our attempt at our first episode, so I apologize in advance. But... the call we just heard is from Green Bay, Wisconsin. In the very early hours of February 23rd, 2022. The caller was Steve Hendricks, who was the boyfriend of Tara Pakanish.
Sure. Apologies if that's not close.
I'm going to butcher every name in any podcast we do. Leonard,
yes. Who names their kid Leonard?
You said, I don't know, but his mom named him Leonard. So it's not funny, but this is the boyfriend of Tara Pakanish, I think. They had returned home after being away for a few days. Then Tara found her son's decapitated head under a towel in a bucket in their basement.
It's a hell of a thing to come home to.
Yeah. So... they were unsure of what they were actually seeing was legit, so they called police, obviously. And I watched the body cam of the officer who went down there, and you could tell he was just as surprised. Like, he even told dispatch, he was like, this isn't a 96 thing. Like, I need additional resources.
And it's probably one of those things, just like we have these calls. Anytime it's weird, there's always in the back of your mind, you're like, is this legit? Because normally, luckily, we live in a world that these things don't happen super often.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it is explained because the person was confused or there was some mental health issues or something going on. So I wouldn't have been expecting that to be legit either.
like, you could tell how they were, like, walking up into, when I was watching the body cam, it was 2 officers, and one stood upstairs with the parent, or the mom and the boyfriend, and then he went downstairs, and you could tell, like, he lifted it, and, like, just paused, and was like, wait, you know, kind of like that.
Yeah.
He was like, there's, like, a bit of blood down here, and he was like, dispatch, like, this is real.
Wow.
But, Tara's son is Shad Thyrion. He was 24 years old when he was murdered by Taylor Schabusiness.
That's a hell of a name.
I promise I'm not making it up.
Schabusiness.
Schabusiness. It's SCHA business. Schabusiness.
Family name.
Who it was 25 at the time. Shad had known Taylor since middle school, and they were involved in, like, a sexual relationship. I'm not sure if they were a couple, but from what I understood, it was more of a, like, sexual nature.
Like casual hookup kind of thing.
Kinda. Because Taylor is actually married and is a mother to a son who was around 1 or so at the time, which is really sad.
Oh.
She's married to a Warren Schabusiness, who is also in prison for federal charges. I believe he's supposed to be released earlier this year sometime. I didn't actually, like, Google him, like, hardcore. But I don't know if I added in here, but he stood by her from jail through the whole thing. Like, he was posting on Facebook and was like, yes, what she did was, you know, like, I don't want to quote him on it, but it, like, he stood by her, basically. And I was like...
That's love.
But they had only...
In the worst possible way.
I think they had only been married, like, 2 or 3 years, which is whatever. I mean...
But yeah.
Roll on. But...
Right.
The night of February 20th, 2022, Shad and Taylor went to an apartment on Eastman Avenue with another friend. There, they smoked some weed, and Taylor admitted later during trial that they had also smoked meth and injected trazodone after the friend had left. So, she was feeling pretty decent. Or I guess they were. So.
Yeah.
Well, after getting high, they returned back to Shad's residence and engaged in erotic asphyxiation.
You do you. We
don't
don't kink shame.
Typically.
Well,
Well,
doesn't seem like this one ended well. Maybe decapitation is where
even
we draw
put
the
in
line.
here we don't kink shame. Literally, it says they engaged in erotic asphyxiation. We don't kink shame.
Yeah.
And apparently this was their thing because this had been done before. So,
But just to be clear, like, new hard limit, decapitation.
Shannon. And apparently this was their thing because this had been done before.
The asphyxiation, not the decapitation, obviously.
Erotic
Seems
asphyxiation.
like a one-time thing.
This is kind of their whatever. However, this time they used metal chains, and Taylor Schabusiness strangled Shad until he started coughing up blood and continued until he finally succumbed to the brutal attack, which took about 3 to 5 minutes per Taylor.
Wow.
It's rough.
That'll do it.
I read, like, she said that he was face down on the bed and she was on top of him.
So, like, pulling up while putting her weight on him.
Yeah. And she liked it. She admitted it to, and I think I have this in here multiple times. She was like, I liked it. I liked choking or strangling him. I can't remember the terminology, but it was one of those. So, I guess Taylor's kink is also necrophilia, because for the next several hours she performed oral sex and used sex toys on his lifeless body, and it wasn't until the next morning that she dismembered Shad's body using knives she had found around his house. I read she allegedly used a bread knife for the decapitation.
I mean, it's serrated. Like, I understand.
For decapitation?
But you're not going to be able to go in with just, like, a regular, butcher knife, I would assume. You need something serrated that's going to cut through. I don't know how that works on...
That's rough, man.
I've never really looked at my knife block with murderous intent, so I'm not sure which one is going to be best for this. But I understand the logic there.
So, Taylor positioned the body on the bed and beheaded him over a bucket and a storage tote to contain the blood, in which then she drained down the basement shower drain. After the police arrived on the scene and confirmed it was an actual head, they made more gruesome discoveries. Alongside in the bucket was his penis, his severed penis. They found human organs stuffed in plastic bags and cardboard boxes. Shad's torso was discovered in a storage tote with his dismembered foot placed inside it. Additional body parts, including a leg, were also found later in a crock pot inside of Taylor's minivan. Do you think they kept that crock pot like forever as an evidence? Because all of a sudden I just thought of like all the crock pots at like Goodwill and stuff, and I was like,
it's completely possible that after the case is resolved, like I would assume, because it's a biohazard, that it's destroyed, but I don't actually know the process there. We would have to ask like an evidence expert, which we know
a couple. Later on, she did tell the officers, and I quote, "have fun trying to find all the organs."
So she just scattered him about his own house and her van.
Yeah. She bragged to the police multiple times about it.
I'm curious, like, you said it was an ongoing relationship. So she was well aware that, like, he didn't live alone and that his mom was going to be the one to find this.
So I talk about it later, but she had gotten arrested before, and I'll talk about it later, but it's weird. The predicament, I think. And I just had a movie quote pop in my head, and I can't think what it is now. Blindside. Predicament. You find it over. Okay. So, yeah. Later that day, on February 20th, 2020, the police arrested Taylor Schabusiness at an apartment complex on Eastman Avenue, where the gold Town and Country minivan was as well that had been used to transport some of his body parts. I'm not sure if that's the same apartment as the night before where they were getting hot and stuff, but that's what it said.
Okay.
Her clothes were covered in blood. She had a laceration on her thumb and scratches on her arm that she claimed were self-inflicted. So,
I mean, honestly, with the way that she choked him out and being like a sex thing, there probably wouldn't have been a lot of defensive wounds.
Especially if the direction that she was saying was like, I guess, maybe. I don't know. She was arrested and charged for murder, mutilation of a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault on March 1st.
Sorry, just processing. So they automatically knew, and you may get into this, I don't mean to jump ahead, but they automatically knew that they were together and she became a suspect, or?
Yeah, because, like Steve, I think his name was Steve or Steven, had said he was with that chick the night before or whatever.
Okay.
So I guess it was very easy to, and then, the friend went and got high. I don't know how they figured out who it was, but apparently they did pretty quickly. Okay. So, weird fun fact, not fun, probably shouldn't say fun, but weird fact, Taylor actually had Googled Jeffrey Dahmer's butt. And I quote, "Jeffrey Dahmer walking into court all sexy prior to the murder."
Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Not Bundy.
Yeah.
Okay.
She also admitted to a psychologist after her arrest that she had a relationship with Jeffrey Dahmer, who we all know was killed in 1994, I think.
Sounds right.
So, we will get more into her mental health later on when we discuss the trial, because it gets even more disturbing, but and I couldn't confirm this, but I did read it multiple times that Taylor had been jailed earlier that year on January 3rd and was sentenced for 3 months for fleeing, eluding, and obstructing police. And I read she was on a work release program during the time of the murder. Apparently she had a GPS tracker on her ankle that had been removed. But from everything I read, nothing was certain. There was never confirmation about that.
I was under the impression that the moment those were removed, that they notify the agency. And we've taken those calls.
Yeah. But was that
I don't know the time frame.
a home arrest thing, or I don't know how those work.
It could be more of an HEM than a work
Right.
release, you're right.
So I have no idea, and I don't know if someone just made that up and thing. But she'd gotten arrested earlier. I don't know if this was this specific one, but they said she was a repeat offender because she at one point had kicked officers trying to get her out from oncoming traffic. I can't talk. I don't know if I can cuss.
You definitely can.
And then, she had, refused to stop, and I assume this is what it's referring to, in a vehicle, and, almost, hit someone on a bicycle or something, so, I don't know. I just thought that was, a weird, not fun fact, but, I don't know what else you would call it.
It doesn't show that, this was her first run-in with law enforcement, which is a hell of a start.
Okay, so in the beginning of, I guess, her trials and courts and all that jazz, Brown Cunningham...
Whoa, nope. Finish that word, because I don't think that's what you meant to say. Sorry.
Brown County Judge Thomas Walsh had ruled after a 4-hour hearing that Taylor Schabusiness was mentally competent to assist in her own defense.
I feel like just keeping that name should give her some type of mental defense.
So, 2 psychologists had spoke at the time. They both had met with her before. One agreed she was competent, and the other said she was not. So, her attorney, who was named Quinn Jolly, had submitted a not guilty by reason of insanity plea on September 1st, 2022. So, well, on February 14th, 2023, her lawyer...
Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Her lawyer had... do you know this case at all?
Not at all. I've never heard anything about this.
Which is wild to me, because you're so, like...
Careful.
True crimey.
There we go.
This case is not funny. I don't mean to laugh, but we're very dark humored.
Yeah, it's also very, like, recent. You said 2022.
Yeah,
so
I thought it was, like, odd that... I mean, I had heard bits and pieces, but, like, not this. And when I was Googling 911 calls and stuff like that, this one popped up, and I was like, oh, perfect. Erotic asphyxiation. Right up Shannon's alley.
Whoa.
Okay.
The lawyer.
On February 14th, 2023, her lawyer submitted a request to push the trial date back so experts could, like, evaluate her ability to stand trial, right?
Yeah, because they had conflicting reports.
Yeah. So she got pissed, and she attacked her lawyer in court, handcuffed, the whole shebang.
I'm here to help you.
Yeah. The whole thing. I mean, it attacked is very dramatic, but it was.
At least verbally attacked.
No, like attacked.
Physically attacked.
Like, handcuffs and all, yeeted on him. Like, tried. Like, it,
I mean, at this point...
they're sitting beside each other and they're handcuffed, and, you know, like, the officer's, like, from me to the door, you know, like, it's pretty...
And also, at this point, I don't think she's concerned with a misdemeanor assault charge being added to it, so...
Well,
what was she mad about?
That he... So, I don't know if the judge and the lawyer were trying to push back the date, or, like, which one it was, but basically, she got pissed at the lawyer, Quinn Jolly, because of that, and she attacked him in the courtroom. There's a whole video of it and everything like that. I have a link, and I'll link it down.
Okay.
I really do sound like a podcast.
Show notes.
She was subdued by a nearby Browns County officer, and there was no serious injuries. The same day, Jolly obviously filed a motion to be removed from the case. Her case was taken over by attorney Christopher Frolic.
And that's stupid on her part, too, because if she isn't wanting the case to be, like, continued,
Yeah.
having all new counsel is definitely gonna push things back.
Yeah.
But obviously she doesn't make great decisions. We've covered that early on.
Yeah. So her case was taken over by attorney Christopher Frolic on March 3rd. And he actually requested that Judge Walsh remove himself from the case after seeing the attack in court because he was worried that, like, would sway his ruling.
Mm-hmm. Can we just take a moment to appreciate that the 2 lawyers are named Jolly and Frolic?
Okay, so fun fact, I didn't Google if this is actually how you say his name, but it sounds like it would pronounce that way. It's Froelich.
That seems
It's
like
gotta
Frolic.
be Frolic.
Yeah, it's maybe like a German
Jolly
spelling.
and Frolic. Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Sounds like a much happier story than we've gotten into.
Well, obviously Judge Walsh declined. And I think I read that he was basically like, I've been a judge and I've seen a lot. Like, this is not going to sway my ruling at all. But I liked him. I actually have a quote in here later from him, and you'll like him too, because it's really nice. So, the jurors heard, there was like a lot of pushback. Like, I think it was like a year trial overall, like maybe a little bit more. Because I want to say in July of 2023 is when she was finally like convicted and things.
Okay, so trial starts in February, gets pushed back. And
No, it actually started in September of the year before, remember?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't know if that's I don't know. Anyways, but the jurors heard about the weird Google searches, like the Dahmer stuff, and the way she preserved Shad's blood and then showered in it. and how she told detectives how much she liked strangling him. And I looked at so many pictures of her during, like, the court cases and the trials and everything, and she was smirking the entire time.
No remorse whatsoever.
No. Like, I mean, if she... I didn't see anything where she said she did, but the only things I ever saw was about her basically bragging and smirking during it. And I don't know, again, if that's, like, the mental health aspect, the insanity plea kind of vibe going on, but...
Just imagine as a juror, though, because, I mean...
Imagine as her mom.
Yeah.
I would,
Yeah. Luckily, I think, like, the mom would be behind her, but the juror is looking, like, the
no,
whole jury.
she was on... The mom went into, like, when that 911 call that I played, I believe she was on the stand.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So... Yeah, she was smirking the whole time they were talking about the gruesome details of the case. It was just weird. It was odd. Her father was actually being housed in the same jail as she was during this process, which was the Browns County Jail, I guess. Her mom had died when she was like 11, which is sad, but does not give you justification. And I believe I read in one of the psychologist things that they were talking about that she said, my mom died and took my heart and gave it to a pedophile when I was 11. Like, it was you could tell she struggles with, I mean, I'm sure addiction and all that does not help at all, because she was diagnosed with, I think, ADHD and bipolar and things like that. But like the judge said, I believe, allegedly, I believe the judge said, like, but she also graduated, she had a child, she got married, like,
she was able to
you can't justify
make decisions
everything.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I thought you had a thought.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Well, talk upon them.
So, basically she's saying that because she had what was not an ideal childhood. Like, you lose a parent, with the pedophile comment, may have been subject to sexual assault. We don't know that.
Well, so what I was saying was her father was being housed at, I think that the mom and her had gotten divorced, the mom and father had gotten divorced because she did go to Texas and live with her grandparents.
Okay.
At some point, and during, I don't know if during that time, he basically was serving a 12-year sentence for second-degree sexual assault of a child. It does not say it was her.
Right.
So I assume not. And seeing that he was there as a character witness for her.
Hopefully not.
In shackles and his jumpsuit.
Which leads credibility to your witness.
He literally was there as a character witness. It was weird. But it took the jury less than an hour to make a decision. Walsh sentenced Taylor Schabusiness to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
Was this not a capital punishment state? Do we know if Wisconsin is capital?
I don't know.
Death penalty? Curious.
We'd have to Google that. But it didn't say. When I was on, like, I think Wikipedia, which I know is not, like, the most credible site, it was, like, life sentence times 10.5 years and stuff like that. Okay. So I didn't add all that, but because I couldn't prove it. But that's what it said at the end. And this is the quote that Judge Walsh also said, I quote, "This crime offends human decency. It offends human dignity. It offends the human community. It really does." And so
I really like that.
It was like,
not wrong.
At the end of this quote, I didn't put this all in here, but he was basically like, I have got to protect the public from this. And because he was like, this is so inhumane and stuff like that.
Well, and this is to someone that, I mean, I don't know that she had feelings for him, but like they coexisted peacefully for a period of time. They were sexual partners.
You had known him since middle school.
Yeah, like, so this is someone that at some point you at least cared for on some aspect. If you can do that to someone you care about, like, what could you do to a complete stranger?
Yeah, and the severity of it, I think, is just insane. Like, I mean, obviously it's insane, but like the whole leg and was it the leg in the crock pot or the foot or something? Yeah. Like, she had his organs. Like, and putting them in plastic bags.
What my question was is, like, why did she... Disassemble is not the right word.
It's not IKEA.
Dismantle is not either.
Oh.
Why did she... What is word?
What is word? Words is hard. Why did she...
When you...
not disembowel, Lord.
I mean, maybe. We don't know how bad it went.
Oh, poor thing.
But why did she cut him into pieces? We'll just break it down to that, because I can't think of the word right now. With, like, normally that's to get rid of it. Like, to destroy it in some fashion or to throw it away.
I read she did say, allegedly, she did say that she blacked out while choking him, and once he started coughing out blood and like turning purple and such, she like wanted to see what was next, or wanted to see how far it went and stuff. So it got very odd. Like, I don't know if she had like a psychotic break, if that's what you want, psychotic break, Lord, during it or before, or if it was the drugs and things like. I'm not justifying it by any means. I'm just trying to not understand it even.
But also the fact that it almost seems like she hesitated at that moment to be able to see that he was doing that. So that was a moment to be like, okay, this has gone too far already. Mm-hmm. This is already not a great situation. But then to make that conscious or drug decision, allegedly, to go back and continue that until the point that he died. Like, to me, that shows there was some mental capacity there in some regard, because she stopped. I think
that they did say stuff about, like, the premeditation, which then it goes back to the whole, like, her being, like on a work release thing. Like, how is she Googling that? Like, on a cell phone of some sort? Anyways, but...
And also the word that I was trying to remember earlier was dismember. It's not to disassemble. Dismember is the correct word for a human body.
We should also, like, specify that. Specify. My schedule would allow it. Yep.
Yeah, I looked at Christmas trees today, and it is September, and it is your influence.
As it should be. Because Christmas starts in two days? Anyways, I've lost my train of thought like 5 times. Okay, anyways, so Judge Walsh had those quotes and things like that. And I did read that he basically acknowledged her addiction. He acknowledged her, like, childhood. He was basically like, I don't know if he necessarily was like, I'm sorry because of it, but basically he acknowledged it altogether. So, I appreciate that, but...
But we get that. But there are people that walk this earth productively, non-criminally every day, that have gone through what she went through, or worse, without even knowing the details. Like,
yeah, but I think this is when you get into, like, addiction is a disease or a choice, and then we're not about to get on that soapbox.
We're not going down that route. But at the same time, even with addiction, like, with our jobs, we see addicts, and we see them make mistakes. Mm-hmm. We don't see them decapitate and dismember
a friend.
Right.
Which is just wild. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but it is wild.
Yeah, it doesn't give her the right to do these types of things, regardless of what she was going through, what she was addicted to, what demons she was fighting.
It doesn't justify... Like, I understand there's a whole world of mental health that I don't understand. I will never admit to understanding. But at, like, what point... I understand, like, you have that insanity plea, all that stuff, but...
But at the same time, like, to me, that means that you were not in control of your body at that point. And I can see either blacking out with rage or blacking out because of you're under the influence of a substance of some sort.
Not justifying, but understanding it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it still does not, like, she still had enough presence of mind to be able to know that I need to do this with the body after. Like, there were decisions made that she was in control of. So I don't know if a full insanity defense, if she didn't know what she was doing, because obviously she doesn't show remorse.
I just think a lot of people can, like, plead insanity with, like, that sort of situation. So I don't know. In October of 2023, she was transferred to Taycheedah. Taycheedah.
Taycheedah.
It's Taycheedah.
That is Taycheedah.
Correctional Facility. Taycheedah Correctional Facility, which is an all-female maximum security prison. And I did see during her transfer that there was photos taken of her, and she was still smirking. So
even after, like, it had taken her life from her as well, no remorse whatsoever.
Yeah. I don't...
I don't begin to understand it.
I cannot. And I commend her mom and all them. I think I did read where her dad, like, forgave her. His dad forgave her and was just basically like, you know, whatever. I can't remember. I don't want to quote him because I don't want to get it wrong. But Taylor had said, I don't know if it was to the detectives or to the judge or where, but he was talking about Shad. He was like a kind human, a very whatever, and he would hug his dad every single time.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't know if she was necessarily saying, like, she was jealous of that, or she wanted that, or that triggered her, or what. But she did say that. I should have put her here. I should have put Shad's dad's quote in here, but I didn't, because he's a better man than I would ever be, because
100%.
I can't even imagine.
I have the ability and the capacity to forgive people for a lot of stuff, but whenever that you see, especially parents having to bury a child, should never happen. Like, that's just not a thing. But to be able to forgive the person that stole your child from you so violently, I am not that person.
Which is so sad. Like, if you really think to the nitty gritty of it, like, I mean, any murder or killing or whatever you want to classify it as is bad. But that is just next level.
It is.
Like, it's rough. Like, I don't want to, like, put myself in those, like in that mindset, but I was trying to think if it was, like, one of my people. Oh my gosh.
Well, what you're always left
Can you
wondering
imagine
is,
seeing someone's head and, I mean,
no.
like someone you love. Can you imagine seeing my head in a bucket? Oh,
Absolutely
you
not.
better riot.
110%.
You
we
better
know
not.
that.
Don't call. No, let me start while I stop on my head.
No, we burn everything down at that point. But you're always left wondering why. Like, because you get the gruesome details of how it happened, when it happened, who did it. But the answer that the family never gets is why it had to happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that they were fighting or that this was like a robbery gone wrong. Not justifying those either, but this was a moment of passion, I would assume.
Supposedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah.
That went not only just too far, but like to a gruesome level. And so as a family member, I would be left wondering why. Like, why did you have to do this at all? But why did you have to do this to my son who you cared about?
You almost like think that it's really sad because not justifying or saying that like she could have just killed him, because I mean that's awful, but like she could have just left it at that.
Yeah.
You had to literally, I mean, like, again, I can't think to like try to like understand her state of mind at the time, but I mean, a bread knife, it's gonna take a minute.
Well, yeah.
You had a moment. I mean, obviously it was the next morning, because after she killed him, she still like performed oral sex. I did see where they said where she had sex with the body, but I don't know if that's referring to oral sex. Used sex toys on him and things like that. Like, at what point do you have that like realization of like what I'm doing is just.
And I understand that substances stay in your system and they can still affect you on some level for a certain period of time. But I feel like that sometime in this span, like even the substances were no longer controlling her actions, if that's what she's saying was controlling them to begin with.
Yeah.
At some point, this is just you.
I mean,
wanting to do this.
The organs in the plastic bag and like the severed penis with his head and
whatever she took in the crock pot in her van.
That's so odd to me. Like, I can't begin to actually understand it, but that is my 911 call and story
It's a hell of a first episode.
I don't know if it's a story, but.
So, we hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode of Nefarious, and we look forward to you joining us next time with our next case.
Okay, love you, bye.